All right, everyone. Here we are at Genesis Creative Center, and this is our new concept of the Inspire at Genesis podcast series, where we are delving deep into the creative mindset and hopefully inspiring you with our curated conversation between artists all the way to activists, environmentalists, and intellectuals. So we're going to get this conversation going, and today we're starting off with the main man of creativity, George Spears here of Genesis.
Oh yeah, sure, man. I think, well, firstly, this is our first episode. This is our pilot.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this for a while now. We bumped into so many inspirational people that, why not we start a channel that invites them onto there and distribute it a little bit wider.
Yeah.
Because we're always so inspired by the people around us. And I guess that just leads into the topic of our conversation, right? What is inspiration? What does it mean to be inspired? What is this word that we throw around so easily? Maybe you want to start, dude. What does inspiration kind of mean to you?
Well, inspiration is one of those sparks that we feel that sets us on a new journey, that it can be any form of inspiration, and we can't let any inspiration be too small, because it doesn't matter if you're finding the inspiration to start your day, to get out there and do something, or finding the inspiration to start a new company and move the world around. It's the same action. It's the same moment in time. And that's what I think inspiration is. It doesn't matter what your end goal is and what you're inspired to do. That spark is magic there, for sure.
It really is a moment. Like, a lot of people think that it's like a prolonged kind of feeling. Mm-hmm. But when you feel inspired, you literally have that bolt of lightning that comes from the heavens and strikes you in the top of your head, and you just kind of go, oh, whoa. I have to do something. Mm-hmm. I want to do something.
And I think that's all the stuff that comes after that. That's the action that comes from the inspiration. I agree with you that there's a lightning bolt of moment of inspiration. And that is what we feel, and that was how we will continue on from there.
Yeah. And, speaking about action, it's one thing to be inspired.
Yeah.
But to not take that thought or that feeling and put the action behind it, you're just defining a dream, a daydream. It's an idea that remains locked in your head is nothing until it makes it out into the real world and you do something about it.
Yeah.
So, I remember trying to prepare for this, and we all do that Google search. What is inspiration, and what is it?
Yeah.
And it's the word itself comes from, and I'm going to butcher this 100%.
Yeah.
Inspire.
All right.
Okay, we're going to move on. It comes from the Greek, and it means to breathe life into. Mm-hmm. And it's something we spoke about previously, that breathing life into something doesn't mean that you have to be the best. Mm-hmm. You're just taking something and trying to complete it, trying to bring it into fruition.
Yeah.
And
this is one of the things is about if to inspire is to breathe life into something. We got to take it down to the molecular level here. This is what keeping us alive and breathing. And breathing shouldn't be something that's forced. We don't force our breath. Mm-hmm. We don't force life.
Yeah.
So when you're inspired, don't try and force it. And this is one of, I think, what stops a lot of people is that they feel like they have to be the best at their moment of inspiration.
Yeah.
This is something that I was reading up on, is that they were talking about being the best at your craft.
Yeah.
And that correlating to your appreciation for the said craft. And it's like someone who's inspired to learn the guitar, learn piano, learn DJing, learn art, fashion, whatever their medium is, learn to write, that they feel like that they have to be really good at it, And of course, while you're learning something, you should be putting all of your energy into learning it the best that you can. But it doesn't mean that after you do all this energy that you might not be the best.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And it doesn't take away any of your love for that said craft. And you might add to your love for this craft because now you see the inner workings. I noticed this before when I started to get a little bit into production, music production. As a DJ, I'm not there yet, and I'm waiting for that moment in my life where I will get there. But when I started music production, just trying to get into learn a little bit about it, you know how much more I appreciated the actual good songs out there. When you start to do something and it hasn't demotivated me from learning, but it has give me a greater appreciation of the people who do produce.
I mean, okay, leading straight on from there, I think that our appreciation for others and understanding what has already been created actually helps us connect the dots and create that new point of that aha moment, right? Bob over there did this, and Sally's working on this, and actually maybe there's something that culminates out of the two.
Yeah.
And it kind of brings me back to what my dad told me in the past. He said that good ideas and inspiration actually comes from two different sources. It's never 100% coming directly from you.
Yeah.
The egotistical among us may counter that.
That was my idea.
Yeah, exactly. But to be honest, it's only partially your idea.
Yeah.
The whole lightning bolt, where's that coming from? It's coming from somewhere else.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right? So I believe that it's along the lines of what the Greek were saying about the muses.
Yeah.
There's 9 of them. There's like this external force that kind of like lends you an idea or allows you to have access to it. And whether it's music or literacy or theater or whatever it is, it always seems to be this thing from outside that goes and just kind of hits you, and you go, oh whoa, it connected to that piece that's in my brain.
Yeah.
And I hope that's going to happen for you for your music production soon. I know you're an amazing DJ, and that must have inspired you a while back. But we shouldn't force that moment.
Exactly.
We really shouldn't.
And the more that you try to force something, you actually take away from a different moment. If you try to do something a little too much, who knows? Maybe if some of the other disciplines that you have in your life kind of go lacking because you're focusing too much on this. But like one thing here that's here at Genesis is that there's this multidisciplinary thing going on here, which I really appreciate. Is that you got the photography, you got the music studio, you got fashion happening and art happening, so that it gives everyone that little bit more of inspiration. I think that you can be like, you can jump into photo studio, you can think about getting into the music studio, recording a podcast. It's just things like this that inspire you. Maybe that you aren't a musician, but to know about making music might improve your fashion brand.
Yeah, exactly.
It goes across the board. You have to be open to the ideas and open to different forms of inspiration. Like one of the best things that I saw for inspiration was Bruce Lee, and the way that he made his martial arts style was that he was actually inspired by fencing. And how the movement of fencing happened. So he's taking from a different sport and adding it to his creation. That's a lightning bolt of inspiration right there. Yeah.
So just allowing that openness to create these new opportunities, these moments of inspiration, the lightning bolt moment. It's kind of like, but by not having that broadness and variety and access, it's like trying to write a book by just staring at a dictionary for 24 hours a day. It's like, these words will culminate in a book. Let's go. Or like, picking up your camera and going through all the settings to become a better photographer. No, it's like what you actually need to do is become more open to experiencing, I'm going to say it, life, just life itself, being open to that.
It's the truth.
Yeah, no, exactly. It sounds so corny to say, but like just going out and experiencing and just having that level of openness increase. And I think it's even part of a study. Like those who want to and open up their doors to a new way of thinking, a new type of person, a new experience, they get hit with that lightning bolt far more than people who are like, oh no, I must just stick to this.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a strange mindset. And that's the thing. That's why I've started this podcast with you, and that's why we wanted to create this, is that we both have that mindset.
Yeah.
We're reading things. We're talking to people who have come from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
It's important to kind of go down that road. And, couldn't think of doing it with anybody else. So.
Well, happy that's happening here at Genesis Creative Center.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, of course.
Nice.
It shows the inspiration and what actually happens here. It's about meeting the right people and talking to the right people, and so this is what we're going to be planning to do with this podcast, and get those people to just talk about their life. Like one of the guests that I hope to have on here will be an organic farmer. It's just the way to hear him talk about what he does and about the different types of soil, the composting, the planting of seeds, that I hope will make you as a listener grow as well, because it's not necessarily that you yourself will get into organic farming afterwards, but just to hear someone's dedication to their craft is inspiring in itself.
Yeah. I mean, even so, it's kind of metaphorical there. Hearing from a farmer who wants to plant the seed of inspiration. There you go. I mean, come on. I'm gonna make a story out of anything here.
Yeah, right. When inspiration hits.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got a lot of friends who and acquaintances that will be coming onto the show. From artists, like you said, artists, activists, all of these different types of backgrounds. And that is the point. We're not just sticking to, here's your businessman who's made millions or whatever.
Yeah.
Inspiration needs to come from a passion and, somewhere else, It's from art. It can be from literally anything. And we want to make that our job, to find the interesting individuals who have that story to tell.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to ask a very hard question.
All right.
When was the last time you felt inspired?
That is a hard question, because for me, like, inspiration just happens so fleetingly sometimes. You get that moment and then you kind of like move on to the next thing already. But I want to share a story with you about how I saw inspiration actually take place recently. It was an event that we did called the Bali Burn, and one of our main things was to give the kids of the area a backpack full of school supplies, art supplies, so that they can go and do their own projects. However, when we gifted them this package of art supplies and backpack, we gave them an assignment. And the assignment was that you have to draw something that you love. And of course, we got a whole bunch of drawings back, beautiful drawings of some family, of course, of animals, some very beautiful things to see where their mindset is at. However, there was a couple that we got back that were of this trash cleaning up game that we had on the same day, where we had Maludong trash collection organization come out and give a game and education to the kids about how to pick up trash, why we need to make the beach beautiful.
And so they gamified it and made it fun.
Yeah, gamified it. It was fun. It wasn't just a lecture, and it became a game of making the beach beautiful again. Nice. And then these kids drew a picture of this moment, and so they were inspired by this game, and we gave them the medium to create, and then they were inspired by this moment of cleaning up the beach, and then it became a moment that they loved. So it was great to see the medium, the creation, and the inspiration all come together.
Nice. I mean, yeah, that event itself must have inspired you to make that event, the Bali Burn. So, yeah, and you know, I know what you mean by it's hard to like pinpoint those moments. For some, it's extremely clear and linear.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, I do see you as a person that dives in many different types of disciplines, and sometimes these things take a little longer. Sometimes they're that bolt of lightning that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not particularly an easy one to answer. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, for yourself, when you got inspired, how do you go from point of inspiration to point of creation?
I actually work. It's kind of counter to what we were saying before, right? I try to work hard at inspiration. Now, it's what I'm trying to say is that I don't go like, today I will be inspired.
Yeah.
I try to create a formula for myself that in the evenings on certain days, I tap into different types of media, whether it's a podcast, whether it's videos about nerdy things, exploring philosophies or gear or whatever. And those are the dots that I'm setting up for myself. And as you are more open to those, you start to connect them.
Yeah.
Right? And I think even you said before, it kind of like reveals more dots.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a bigger scope suddenly.
And it's not just the dots itself, but the connection in between the dots.
Exactly. Yeah. So where do you go from there? Like when you build yourself up to become inspired or you are hit with that lightning bolt. For me, inspiration to kind of build this place was coming out of a need to become better, right? I was inspired to help others, because of a similar feeling that I made sure of. You know, hey, are you feeling like you need more access to things? Hey, do you need to meet more creative people? Increase the chances of inspiration, creativity, all of that. So my action from there, you know, from the point of inspiration, has always been kind of like, okay, well, go build it, figuring it out, do the research, and that is something that probably separates some people from today and some people from the past, which is effort. How much effort do you want to put into the points of inspiration that you know gets bestowed onto you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to build on what you're saying right here, it's not so everyone can know. Also, I've known George for a very long time, from back in Jakarta days, and from when he first moved to Bali was around the same time I first moved to Bali as well. And I remember him talking about the concept of Genesis, and I'm like, it was almost over empowering to me. It was too much for me to all take in. I was like, you want to have what? You want to have what? You want to do what? So it's like it was a little too much for me to comprehend at that moment. But I could see you were driven for it, and it was a process of 2 years, I think, or even more, from the point that you were talking about it, getting the designs together, getting the drawings together, and then of course the round of investors and all that stuff that goes into creating a company and project like this. But it was something awesome to see, for sure, from the moment of inspiration. And also something that we should talk about for inspiration is the amount of dedication that goes into it. Is that like you were going in between jobs just so that you could handle the time to do this, you know? It's like it's all the stuff that adds up, and from this moment of like almost possessed inspiration to the moment where we are now, and we're sitting in the studio and we're making a podcast from there, and it doesn't get much cooler than that.
I mean, it goes by like a flash when you've got that tunnel vision, when people say, you know. And that's kind of an interesting way of seeing it. It's kind of like when you have when you're inspired, it's like this grand vision, and from that point on, it is it is the tunnel that you must run towards that grand vision. It's kind of like looking down a telescope.
Yeah.
Right. But the telescope only gets you to look at it.
Yeah.
You still have to run all the way to the end to make it work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, effort is really needed there. Sacrifice is there. And you know, it's a beautiful journey. Mm-hmm. It's never ending.
Never ending.
For both of us, you know. You have an insane determination as well to bring music to the people. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think from the moment anybody gets inspired to do something, I actually don't use that word a lot, but I hate it when people say I'm not creative, or like I'm never inspired. Yeah. And you know, to those who are out there and like watching this for the first time, I want to say, just be more open. Mm-hmm. Just start to look at other things that you thought doesn't inspire you, doesn't look cool, doesn't do this, doesn't do that for you. Yeah. Just open yourself up. I never thought I'd DJ. I saw you and I was like, yo, this is kind of cool. Yeah. Let's do it. I didn't do it for the girls. No. It was literally a love for music and the love of just kind of blending the tracks, like you say, and creating a mood and a vibe. Yeah. So, yeah.
So I hope that everyone will have a takeaway from this podcast series is that they find their own inspiration in their own daily life. Not necessarily that you're inspired by this podcast or what these people say. It's just that you're open yourself up to the idea of inspiration, because it's not necessarily what someone else is saying, but just when you're walking around and you have that moment that hits you, maybe this podcast will get you to open up for that moment.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm Halim Marty.
And I'm George Spears.
And this was the first Inspire at Genesis podcast.
Thanks for listening.